What's the game plan for Netflix and Tesla post earnings? Now the earnings have come and gone. Netflix received really well, went up 16%. Tesla double miss, and it pretty much missed on in every conceivable fashion. It's down 9%. Huge gaps on the charts. What's the game plan going forward? Let's talk about that by looking at Netflix first. Right out of the gate, you do have this rising trend line. This goes back to about July of last year. This trend line doesn't even look like it was all that important here until recently. And so we had broken it. It didn't look like it was going to be, it was a non-factor essentially. But then you had the huge earnings report and it goes skyrocketing back above it. So this purple line here. Then you have this huge gap that it runs right through that was created from the earnings. There's also this level of support here. This is this red line here that was resistance for a while. Now it's a support again. The question becomes whether or not it would hold that. That too runs right through this gap. You can see where this gap is very important. You have declining resistance going back to July highs. And then finally, we have another layer of resistance that goes right to where price peaked out at around 409 today. So it needs to get back over the 409 level. It needs to get into about 411 here to completely clear this white line of resistance. You have a yellow line of resistance that's declining. That also comes into play at about 423. So if it can get above the white line, then you have this yellow line that it can run into some resistance on. So there's about a little over 3% of upside once it clears this area. You can see it's a very jumbled mess still. This was a topping pattern, this white line. When it broke below it, it confirmed that topping pattern. So the big threat for the bulls here is if it starts to break below the lows of the day here today, which was 392.26. If it does that, then you have a real chance to retest this rising trend line and also to start filling into this gap. Once it gets into the gap, I don't have a lot of confidence that this trend line or this support level right here will hold, and I think it will ultimately fill it down into the, back at about 355. That's the downside. Upside, it needs to get through these layers. With a market that's having a lot of struggles right now, that's going to be a tall order. The next one is Tesla. Tesla, like we mentioned, down 9%, 9.3% to be exact. What does it have going on here? Well, first of all, you have multiple trend lines here that have been broken in recent days. You have this first one right here that was broken the day before the earnings. It broke just below it. And then the day of earnings, after it came out, post earnings, you had this huge rising trend line that it gapped below that following morning. It tried to recapture it at one point, could not do it, and then it sold off even harder. So you had an initial buy opportunity for Tesla that tried to recapture this rising trend line. This one goes all the way back to January of 2023. Could not recapture it, and then it completely fell off. That was a key moment for Tesla. It had to have recaptured that level. It didn't do it, and now we're in a free fall. You have this 200-day moving average. The problem is there's not a lot of support for this stock underneath. You have one layer of support that I would watch here in the coming days. It's this level right here. You can see where there is some support right here, and then it acted as resistance right here. It has to hold this level right here. If it doesn't hold that, that's where Tesla's a scary stock when it starts its free fall, because it tends to always go much further than one would ever anticipate. And right here, there's not a lot of support underneath. You can make the case that maybe around 167.60 could be support, but you're talking about a stock right now that's still trading at 220. That would be a huge, huge sell-off. So really, this is a huge unknown. Once it starts to break below this level and below the 200-day moving average, where it falls and finds support at is really a hard guess to make. So keep an eye out for Tesla. Manage the risk. I can't express enough how important that is to one's trading, to be managing the risk at these moments in time. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and make sure to get that little notification bell clicked as well so that you can be notified of all of my future videos. Thank you, and God bless.